What if what you call coincidence is really a whisper from reality, trying to wake you up? What if those unexpected encounters, those repeating numbers, those sudden flashes of inspiration weren't random at all, but secret invitations from existence itself? What if everything you've ignored was actually the hidden key to taking control of your own life? "Fortune favors the bold," wrote the Roman poet Virgil, centuries before Machiavelli transformed that line into a strategy of war. Even Albert Einstein, with his skeptical brilliance, once said, "God doesn't play dice with the universe." And Carl Jung, diving into the depths of the human psyche, spoke of synchronicities, meaningful coincidences, as if reality were holding up a mirror, whispering to the soul. But here's the haunting question that echoes in the silence of the night. Why do you keep insisting everything is just random? Maybe because that's what you were taught. Since childhood, you've been conditioned to see the world as a chain of mechanical causes, as a series of disconnected events, as scattered accidents. They gave you proof, numbers, and cold statistics. They told you trusting your gut was foolish. They warned that listening to that inner voice meant you were weak, or maybe even losing your mind. But what if it's exactly that so-called madness that connects us to a deeper truth? Life often feels like a board game rigged by invisible forces. And you feel it, don't you? Sometimes something so perfect, so unlikely, happens that your logical mind falls completely silent, if only for a moment. A friend calls you just as you are thinking of them. You open a book at random, and the exact answer you were searching for stares back at you. A song starts playing right when you need it most. That's not just coincidence. That's the universe whispering to you. But the real question is, are you listening? This video is an invitation, a call to look at those seemingly random pieces and realize the hidden map they form. Let's walk together through the paths of Machiavelli, Jung, Einstein, and other great minds who dared to see the invisible. Let's try to decipher the mysteries of what we call chance, and maybe discover that chaos itself hides a logic so profound our ordinary minds can barely grasp it. But be careful. This journey won't be comfortable. It will shake you from passivity. It will demand that you open your eyes. Trust your most subtle intuition, and above all, that you act. Because, as Machiavelli once said, fortune favors those who are prepared to master it. So, are you ready? If you are, take a deep breath. The night is silent, and it's in that silence where the truth begins to whisper. Have you ever felt that something was just too perfect? Like, for a brief second, the whole universe tilted in your favor. A thought crosses your mind, and seconds later, someone says it out loud. A number keeps showing up everywhere you look, on the clock, on a receipt, on a street sign. Or maybe someone appears in your life right when you were just thinking about them. You could laugh it off and call it coincidence. But deep down, a part of you hesitates. A part of you knows there's something more. And it's in that space, between the rationale and the intuitive, that our journey really begins. For centuries, people used the idea of chance as a catch-all explanation for whatever they couldn't explain. Anything that didn't fit the logic of the day was tossed into that convenient drawer labeled random. But what if that drawer is overflowing with truths we never dared to explore? What if chance isn't a mistake of reality, but a code we haven't yet learned to read? Carl Jung was one of the first to take this mystery seriously. He coined the word synchronicity to describe meaningful coincidences that seemed orchestrated by something greater. To him, these experiences weren't accidents. They were a kind of communication between the unconscious mind and the external world, as if reality itself were answering when we finally learned to pay attention. And here's the eerie part. The more you start noticing these signals, the more they seem to appear. Even Einstein, from within his strict scientific skepticism, suspected it. He said, "Coincidence is God's way of remaining anonymous." Behind that ironic remark lies the intuition of a hidden order. It's not that everything is predetermined, but maybe, just maybe, the universe isn't as indifferent as we were taught to believe. Now think about your own life. How many times has something impossible happened and you brushed it off with a nervous laugh? How many times have you ignored that gut feeling that something was about to happen, that someone was thinking of you, that a place carried a strange energy? Ignoring those signs isn't just losing information. It's losing power. Because if those moments are actually windows into a deeper reality, and everything suggests they are, then every time you dismiss them, you're rejecting life's invitation to step beyond being a mere spectator. You're turning away from the real game. And here lies the greatest illusion, believing that chance makes us free. Nothing could be further from the truth. Blind faith in randomness leaves us passive, resigned, obedient to a fortune we think we cannot control. But if we understand that there are signs, that there is structure, that there is intention, then we are forced to rise, to see, to act. Machiavelli never used the word chance. He spoke of fortune, a wild, capricious, dangerous force, but one that could be tamed. For him, fortune was like a raging river. If you do nothing, it will sweep away everything in its path. But with intelligence and preparation, you could build the channels to make that same river work in your favor. It's not about predicting the future. It's about being ready when the future reveals itself. And maybe that is the true difference between those who succeed and those who fail. It's not luck, it's sensitivity, perception, and the courage to decide. Do you hear the whispers of the night? They don't shout, they hide in the smallest details. In the number that keeps reappearing, in the phrase that echoes in your mind, in the silence that feels heavy with meaning. The answer to the question in this video's title may not be found in books or theories. Maybe it lives inside your own story, in that one moment you never forgot, the moment that still gives you chills. That wasn't random. That was a call. The question is, did you answer it? Picture a storm. A wild flood rushing through a city, tearing down houses, trees, even lives. For Machiavelli, that was the image of fortune, an untamed, unstoppable force, capable of destroying empires or lifting kings with the same indifference. But what if you could see that storm coming? What if you could build the levees before the river overflowed? That was the secret Machiavelli wanted to reveal. Born in a turbulent Florence, surrounded by conspiracies, betrayals, and wars, Niccolò Machiavelli witnessed with his own eyes how the world seemed to turn at the whim of fortune. Yet unlike so many thinkers of his time, he didn't surrender to it. He observed, he studied, and he reached a chilling conclusion. Fortune favors the bold, not the good, not the just, but the prepared. In his most famous book, The Prince, Machiavelli describes fortune as a woman who must be conquered with strength, courage, and initiative, not with pleas, not with passivity, because according to him, fortune grows tired of the hesitant. She smiles at those who attack, not at those who wait. Think about that for a moment. How many times in your own life have you felt it was now or never? A door opens for just a second, and then slams shut forever. An opportunity flickers, hesitates, and disappears. Machiavelli would say that was your test, and when fortune saw you hesitate, she simply moved on. But what makes this philosophy so powerful is the idea of virtù. And here's the key. This word doesn't mean morality or goodness. For Machiavelli, virtù was the capacity to act strategically in the midst of chaos. It was intelligence, courage, cunning. It was the ability to turn disadvantages into weapons. It meant seeing a battlefield where others saw only ruins. The example he admired most? Cesare Borgia. Borgia was a master of fortune. When everything seemed lost, Alliances broken, enemies multiplying, he reinvented himself. He didn't pray for luck. He created opportunities. When fortune shifted, he already had another card hidden up his sleeve. Yes, he was ruthless, but he was clear-eyed. And for Machiavelli, that clarity was everything. Seeing the world as a brutal arena may feel cold, even cruel. But in a strange way, it's also liberating. Because when you realize that fortune can be tamed, you take back something priceless: power. The ability not just to be a pawn in the game, but to become a player. To understand that what we call chance can be bent, directed, transformed into momentum toward victory. But be warned, there are no guarantees. Fortune is treacherous. Even the most prepared can fall. The point isn't to control destiny, but to make sure destiny doesn't control you. It's about refusing to sit with your arms crossed, waiting for the perfect moment. It's about acting, even in uncertainty, even in fear. Because for Machiavelli, hesitation is death. So ask yourself, when opportunity shows up in your life, do you strike or do you wait? Do you shape circumstances or just hope they'll favor you? Are you the strategist or just the dreamer who prays everything will somehow work out? Fortune doesn't reward dreamers. Fortune crowns those who dare to act. Machiavelli saw history as a theater where the bold stole the spotlight, where chaos disguised itself as opportunity, and where every second mattered. To him, the world was a battlefield, and only those who learned the hidden rules of fortune could truly survive. And here's the truth. You're standing in that battlefield right now. Time is running, and fortune is watching. Have you noticed how certain moments in life feel charged with meaning? As if something beyond logic is pulling the strings behind the curtain of everyday life. Sometimes it's a song that plays exactly when your heart needs to hear it. Other times, it's a random line in a book, underlined as though it had been waiting for you. And occasionally, it's just a number, 1111, 22, 77, repeating itself in those moments when your soul is silently searching for an answer. Most people ignore these signals. They stay asleep, numbed by routine, by the skepticism they were taught. But those who learn to look more closely realize something. There is a pattern, and that pattern isn't random. Carl Jung called it synchronicity, meaningful coincidences that reveal a hidden connection between your inner world and the outer one. It's as if your unconscious mind finds a way to project itself into reality. Jung saw it happen with patients, with friends, even with himself. It was impossible to ignore, and he wasn't the only one. Nikola Tesla admitted that many of his most brilliant ideas came to him like sudden visions, as though sent from an invisible intelligence. Einstein, even in his strict scientific approach, denied that life was random, insisting the universe followed a deep order, even if we couldn't fully comprehend it. The ancient Taoists spoke of Wu Wei, acting effortlessly, in harmony with the flow of the universe. The Stoics saw every event, no matter how painful, as an opportunity to practice virtue. Different cultures, different eras, yet all pointing toward the same truth. Existence is a living, breathing web of meaning. So how do you recognize the signs? How do you know when something isn't just a projection of your tired mind? The answer is silence. Yes, silence. It's only when you turn down the noise that you begin to hear. When you slow down, breathe deeply, and allow yourself to watch instead of rushing to react. It's in that space that the signals appear, a conversation overheard by chance, an unexpected message, an impossible encounter. These aren't accidents. They are reflections of your own inner search. Neuroscience also has something to say about this. Deep in your brain lies the reticular activating system, a kind of filter that decides what you notice based on what you believe and where you place your focus. That's why when you buy a new car, suddenly you see that exact model everywhere. The world didn't change. You did. Your attention was reprogrammed. Now imagine what happens when you start searching for purpose, when you begin expecting answers, when you truly believe the signs are real. Your brain starts to reveal them, your mind begins to connect them, and what once looked like coincidence now becomes a hidden map. But remember, seeing signs isn't the same as understanding them. Sometimes they show up as loss, as silence, as waiting. Fortune tests us with subtlety. She doesn't hand out answers on a silver platter. She whispers, and if you're not paying attention, you miss the chance to change everything. Take, for example, one of Jung's patients who dreamed of a golden scarab. The very next day, during their therapy session, a real beetle tapped against the window. Jung didn't see it as a miracle, but as a point where the unconscious met the external world, a symbol of rebirth, a door opening. He used that moment to break through her resistance. That was when healing began. Now think about yourself. What was the last sign you ignored? The number that kept repeating? The phrase you pretended not to hear? The idea that flashed in your mind, but you set aside for later? Each one of those was an invitation, a password. And if you truly want to play Fortune's game, you must start saying yes. Here's a challenge. For the next 14 days, live as a disciple of Fortune. Wake up ready to notice the signs. It could be a number, a phrase, an idea, or a chance meeting. It doesn't matter. When it appears, pause. Ask yourself, what is life trying to show me right now? And most importantly, act, make the call. Write the thought down. Accept the invitation. Trust the impulse. At first, it may feel like madness. You'll hesitate, wanting to retreat into the comfort of calling everything random. But if you persist, you'll start to see. You'll begin to understand. And more than that, you'll begin to build. Because destiny was never about luck. Destiny has always been about strategy. Think of Steve Jobs. He didn't believe in chance. When he met someone intriguing, he hired them. When he saw an idea with potential, he developed it. He didn't wait for proof. He trusted his intuition and acted. That is virtue. So I'll leave you with this. Will you wait until Fortune grows tired of knocking at your door? Or will you open it? Ignoring the signs is like stepping into battle with empty hands. But once you learn to notice them, and most of all, to use them, chance transforms into strategy. And life itself begins to obey your will. Fortune doesn't crown the spectators. It crowns those who dare. So close your eyes for a moment. Breathe deeply and whisper to yourself as a silent vow, today I won't wait. Today I will act. If this story spoke to you, don't just move on. Take a moment to share your thoughts in the comments. And if you'd like more journeys into the hidden corners of philosophy and history, subscribe to the channel. Your voice helps us continue uncovering the mysteries of the past and the truths that still guide us today.